Hey car peeps, welcome back to Joe the Garage. On this episode, we're talking hanging quarter panels, filler panels, package trays, trunks, and we're even working on some special stuff on the taillight panel. So stick around, let's get into it. Back from a long hiatus working on the actual body. After working on the steering wheel and the seats, we're back at it. Got a pretty nice flush line on this seam here. One of the issues that I was running into is trying to get the right measurement from this lip to this lip. Obviously the roof has been removed right now, but that measurement has to be 33.5 inches, and then the diagonal from this corner to the pocket, so from this corner to that side and from that side to that side, has to be 54. That managed to be a problem for me for a while until I figured out that this panel was actually slid too far back. And that was giving me all kinds of headaches. So you got to make sure that even though this is lined up here, you still have flex in this panel to shift it up. And that in the end cured my problem, is that this just had to be slid up far enough on both sides so that I could meet these panels closer together, because I also had a gap, sort of a gap between here and here. Now it's pretty tight. And then I got my 33.5 and 54 diagonal. Pretty happy with that. Getting to the point now where I can actually start welding these holes, weld the brace in place. So I've got sideways rigidity, and then I've also marked all these holes here. This side can actually be welded on. Whereas that side still needs to be able to come off because I need to work on the fuel filler and how I want to route that. Glad to have you guys back. As mentioned, it's been a while, but yeah, we're back at it. Some permanent welds. Got the cross brace welded in both sides. The front bow welded in both sides. And this panel right here is welded in all the way there, and then also in the door. Obviously it needs to be worked, metal worked yet, however it is ready to go. And after metal working, we now have a nice surface to put the roof over. Well, I tend to do things a little bit differently than some. So that is the placement of the gas cap, and I'm reusing the mechanism from the original, but instead of going sideways out of here, out of the fender, I've redone the piping so that it now sits vertical, and the hole over here will sit on top over there, and then we will have a smaller style Lamont cap on top of that. And this is then what it looks like installed. So most Mustangs that go Eleanor way or whatever, they get the big 5-inch fuel filler right on the side panel here. That's been tried and true, seen it 100 times, 1,000 times. So want to do something a little bit different, but still kind of the same. So this is a 2¼ inch gas cap, and when I open that up, now I've got the fuel filler nicely underneath there with still the same mechanism that the stock Mustang had, where you can just put the nozzle in and do a good fill, close it back up again. So that's my version. I think it looks pretty neat. Are you happy with that? Now, the way that all had to happen, let's hope there's enough light under here, is I had to cut the piping here and connect it with a hose. And unfortunately, from the accident, when the shock broke off, it also crushed, as it went up, it crushed the pipe here. So I cut that out and then put a piece of hose there too. So now I've got a custom fuel filler neck that goes up to somewhat custom fuel filler, and sort of a nice custom look to the car, I think. A little bit different than what most have, yet still sort of in the realm. Patch panel is finished and put the seam sealer on it. Now we're gonna finish it up, coat of black paint on this side, and do the same thing on the inside, and we'll put some undercoating on the inside in the wheel well. And that's what it looks like after lick of paint. On the outside and the inside with the bed liner. Welcome to the Muppet News Lab, where progress is being made today. So, got the driver quarter panel all welded in. Welded over here and over there. Got a coat of weld-through primer on there after the welding was done. So now that that is in place and the passenger side is also in place, I tack welded the filler panel in place on both sides, and then I had to bend these ears under here. See if I can get a better shot of that. Maybe not. Maybe you can. Those ears have to go under, and with these already in place, it was kind of hard to do. But I now have the filler panel as set in place, tack welded. This will be finish welded all the way through on both sides. Get a nice smooth seam. Not something that I came up with, but others have done that and it looks good, so I like that. And then what others have not done perhaps is use the package tray piece in this conversion, which I kind of like because it gives structural rigidity to the sides, the package tray, but then as well it locates the hinges for the trunk on both sides, so that's something that makes it a lot easier. Obviously I had to cut those pieces to kind of fit, but now that I'm getting this, once it's finished welded through all these holes, and I make sure that this center line is centered on the center line in the car, then I can make brackets to weld the wheel well to the package tray leg on both sides, and then that will make it one piece with the car. I haven't put the roof on yet, and that's also with purpose. I want to put a roll cage in this car, and I don't have any of the equipment or the material to do so. However, I figure it's going to be a lot easier to work in there with the roof skin not on there, and since the side panels and the roof braces are already in place and welded, that is not going to go anywhere or move, so I don't see the harm in not having that on there yet. And we got the window divider and the package tray all welded in. I welded the seams on the window divider closed so that it's now a solid piece with the quarter panels. The package tray is welded to the window divider, and the next steps now will be to make braces from these uprights to the wheel wells and to the floor, and then that will tie the package tray into the chassis, making it all stronger. Tying in the package tray with the frame. You can see over here, this piece is going up, curved up, so that it's mating the curve of the wheel well there. And then this piece is curved up to work with the curve of the package tray itself. So you can see at the back end here, you can see the curve, did that with the English wheel. Make it in 2 parts because I didn't have a piece that was long enough, which is no big deal. There'll be holes punched in over here and then in the vertical wall there to spot weld them onto the car and to the package tray. And then this side will be the same. Just have to work on that a little bit more and then weld them all together. And then the package tray will be 1 part with the chassis. And there we have the bottom support for the package tray. And that is holding the package tray in place nicely. So now that is another point where the chassis, or the body ties to the chassis, and everything is just getting stiffer and stiffer and stronger. Very nice. Welded in a cross brace so that when I put a panel over this area, it has something to mount to as well. A little bit more stiffness and robustness. In addition to making the center brace, working on the side panels and closing gaps in. So over there you can see you get a big gap. Over here you got a nice panel. Okay, so there's always issues, of course, when you're doing stuff like this. Working on the rear trunk lid, as you can see, and one of the issues that I'm having is that when the alignment at the trunk to fender lip here is good, my panel here is too low, when over here it was good, over here it was good, but this is too high, too low versus where the trunk was. And so I spoke to Lucas over at 1149 Video. Check him out if you haven't already. Good resource and great place to look for videos on these kind of cars. Done a ton of body swaps as well, so he's a wealth of information for me and a great soundboard. Thank you, Lucas. So what he told me was to put a jack under here. I put a metal rail so I don't destroy the floor pan, a jack and a piece of wood. So basically what I'm doing is I'm raising, by jacking up the jack, I'm raising this panel in the center, and of course there's always a spring back, so I'm physically having to get it higher than this, a little bit more, and you basically have to repeat this process until you get rid of the spring back and it goes to the right height that you want it at. So I'm just taking the pressure off the jack right now, letting it spring back to its new natural position. Look at that, pretty close already. This is nice, this is pretty good. Stay here high on the lid yet, so we have to do it hopefully one more time. You're gonna pull that good. A little bit, not a lot. Maybe one more time. Last words, right? makes you pretty happy. Now, one of the other issues that we're contending with is these ears down here. Is that when this is nice and flush, they start diving in this corner and I end up with about a 1/4 inch low. So did a little bit of bending on the flange to make this sit more closely to this edge. Seam sealed, primered and painted. Even though I'm never gonna see any of this, just wanted to make sure that we don't get any rust or any nastiness coming back from the inside. And then we have the same, of course, on the inside. Nicely painted. All the reinforcements and the connections that were done are now tied in and ready to go. So, working on the rear light panel, I've got some different ideas on what we're going to do with exhaust systems than a standard Mustang, I would say. So I cut out the centerpiece and the lock area here because, of course, I have the different gas cap already on the rear end of the fender there. Took it off. And so what I'm doing now is I want to take this whole center section of the panel out and then replace it with some mesh steel. Now, in order to reinforce that, I'm putting 1/4 inch round stock all the way around. I still have to make the other piece that goes on the bottom, but I've got this all clamped down and ready to go so that we don't get any warpage, hopefully once I weld it. And then once I get the other piece in play, I want to make a couple of braces over here to keep the shape. And then I can cut out the metal, and I'm gonna cut the metal oversized from the 1/4 inch round so that I can then tap that over top of the 1/4 round and make a nice finished edge over top of it. And yeah, we'll see how we do with that and how we go from there. Next steps here is welding this 1/4 round to the panel. A 3/4 way modifying the rear panel. So as we can see, we have a full brace along the outside perimeter of the hole that we're gonna make. I've cut out this section here already, reinforced right here and here with the same curve as the panel. So those pieces were made specially for that. Now what I got left is to cut this out on the black line. Once that's done, then we can start taking this lip and hammer forming it over this rounded edge. And that's what it looks like on the car after both sides are done. Again, this whole opening will be filled with grill, and that's where the exhaust will come through. You can see the exhaust pieces laying in the back there. I think that's gonna look pretty cool. See how it goes. So I have decided to fill in the center panel and make 2 separate exhaust areas, which means I'm forming a piece. I rolled this on the good old English wheel. Got a nice shape to conform to this shape. So this will lay and get welded to this edge, and this will get conformed and laid to this edge. Now I have to cut out these corners, north full corners, so that I can actually use this and roll it over these 2 pieces just like I rolled over the others. Now it's a little bit of work, like this one is not completely flat because there's a weld underneath it, so I'm gonna have to address that. And so does this. This one's pretty flat, that one's pretty flat. These 2 need a little addressing. Once we get to that and get that all said and done, corners cut out of that, and then invert it, clamp it, tap it over, and then weld it in place. So continuing to work on the rear light panel, decided to fill in this gap and make 2 separate air outlets.
My welder happens to have a spot weld function, which is really neat. And basically you pull the trigger and it only lets out a spot of a certain amount of seconds. And so that gives you the opportunity to lay real nice and consistent spot welds all across. So I laid 3 spots here, and we're going to continue to fill this in. So as you can see, I pull the trigger, and as I pull the trigger, it lays a spot weld, and it doesn't matter how long I hold the trigger, it does the same amount of time, which of course brings a lot of consistency. And just like that, we've got a nice row of spot welds. You can see I'm kind of hop skipping back and forth just to make sure that I get the heat to kind of travel between different places. If you want, you could wait a little bit. You can also get a air hose and kind of cool them down in between. Because this is such a little spurt, I'm not really too worried about it, and it seems to be holding shape pretty well. So we'll go lay a few more. I'll bring you a little closer and show you what that looks like. So you can see how nice and even those little tack welds are. And all you have to do here now is I may lay another one there, another one there. But you can grind this down and it'll be a nice smooth area. So after I get those in there, I'll take the clamps off or move the clamps over a little bit, and I'll weld this to this and this to this. And then we have to go to the other side, do the same thing over there. And at that point I can flip it. I can tack weld the inner rods that I put in to the panel on the inside track. And then I can fold the edges over, which there's gonna be quite a bit of stretch on that metal to get around that. So that's gonna be an interesting one. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, we'll continue laying a few more tacks here. There, as you can see, I filled in some of these extra spots, and then I also made these welds right here. So next step, as mentioned, is we're gonna go to the other side, clamp that side down, and do the same thing. For the spot welds, here I had a little bit of a gap, and I saw a trick the other day where you start that spot weld on this side, and then you drag it over to the gap to the other side. And you do that as you pull the trigger every single time. And it actually made a nice stack of dimes in a way. Then I welded the back side. As you can see, pretty nice and consistent heat signatures. And that's what it looks like on the back. So now that I got the structure all welded in on all 4 sides, it's time to pound the sides over, fold them over themselves. See how that goes? Again, because this is a curve already, there's going to be quite a bit of stretch to get it to that point. So I'm going to have to start from both ends and then kind of work this center area last in order to get a good fold and a good stretch there. And hopefully the metal won't get too thin, so it will break. And here we have one side done. So this side is folded over. This here has yet to be done. And that's what it looks like from the back. Little bumps are where the welds are to hold this plate to, as you can see here, to the metal, to the 1/4 inch round. And that allows that to bend over without distorting this shape, because this 1/4 round is welded to itself, and then you can just tap it over. Now, as mentioned, you start on the side, get it over a little bit. This is not a game of let's whack it as hard as I can and get it over as quick as I can. You have to really do a little bit at a time, come back to it a little bit at a time, little bit at a time, little bit at a time, and over time you get the shape that you want. Again, this area here is where you need the most stretch, and you don't want this metal to crack if you don't have to. So this came out pretty good, so on to the next one. I'm holding it vertical so I can get behind here and really tap. I got a block behind, kind of catch the blows, and we have to work our way around. So here you can see we've started to bend over a bit, and of course the goal is to bend it over this 1/4 inch rail and keep that gap really tight. So we continue. Put the brake on. This car doesn't wheel around on me so much. If you look now, you can start seeing that 1/4 round coming through the metal here. And of course, that's exactly what we want. Now that we've got it to about 90 degrees, I can actually take it off the vertical and lay it horizontal on the table here, so that I can start tapping it over. So you can see that we have a nice bend around that 1/4 round, and we've got it at about 90 degrees. So now we have to wrap this over and make sure that, like here, we can see that it's pretty tight. A little bit of a gap here. So we have to make sure that as we wrap it around, that we get enough force on here that it actually rounds that corner. But of course, this is also where most of the stretch needs to happen. So that's why that's a little bit of a headache, if you will. That's where the biggest fight is. Kind of hitting it in the direction that I want the metal to go, to kind of help force going in that direction. There, and this is what it looks like from the front. Of course, this needs a little body working in the corners and perhaps a little bit more metal working, but you start seeing the idea. And of course, now you can see the whole spiel where we have an air exit here and an air exit there, and that's how we're gonna get the exhaust to come out. Something different for a 67 Mustang, because I've never seen a Mustang that's had that. And so yeah, just another custom touch on the Mach 1 67 Fastback conversion. As always, thanks for watching Jodo Garage. Hope you like the direction I'm taking this build in with all the custom touches. Stay tuned, like, subscribe. See you on the next one.